Bernie Sanders is inspiring a lot of people on everything from access to universal health care and education to his general desire to take on the millionaire and billionaire class. But in his fundraising data shows a fundamental truth. You don't need billionaires to win the presidency anymore. Hey everybody, how's it going? Thanks for stopping by. Again, Bernie inspires so many people. He's inspired a movement of young people, of working class people, of those who, for whatever reason, have not had the American dream, have not had access to the things that should be accessed as a universal right, not just in the United States, but in any developed country, and eventually, hopefully, by every nation in the world. Bernie inspires those people. But there's been a lingering question, and it's, can a socialist win the presidency? Because they won't get the donations from the millionaire and billionaire class, from corporations, from CEOs, from the well-connected people who can cut checks for thousands of dollars and fund super PACs that distort the democratic process and give your message, this amplification, or even, the ability to win over the levers of the mainstream media, which are controlled by millionaires and billionaires. How can you do it without those sources, people have asked? Well, Bernie has shown how you can do it. Bernie is raising an immense amount of money. In this last quarter, Bernie raised about $24 million. And what's crucial in all of this is that it's not just that he raised $24 million, it's that he did it off very small donations. 99% of them came from people donating $100 or less. The average donation was under $20. That's even lower than the $27 average from, the 2015-2016 primary campaign against Hillary Clinton. The average type of person who donates, they're teachers and people who work at Walmart, working in middle-class people who care about public services, and people who are struggling to get by, or both. Bernie is raising all sorts of money from young people. He's raising a lot of money from young people. And despite the fact that people like Pete Buttigieg edged him out this quarter by about $800,000 to $1 million or so, he did it without any corporate donations. Any at all. No CEOs, no corporations, and Bernie still raised, $24 million. Putting him well ahead of schedule, relative to his last run. There's been 1 million people who made donations. It's an incredible story. And it matters because while Bernie might never raise the most money, Bernie doesn't need to raise the most money. But Bernie is demonstrating you can raise a lot of money by talking to regular people, by fighting for their concerns. Because while the average person can't cut a check for $1,000 or even $500 or even $200 in many cases, they can give what they can when they can. It might only be $5 or $10 or $15 or $20 or $30. Maybe it's $5 a month. Maybe they can make, a periodic donation, just a little bit of money, because, they make minimum wage or they struggle. They don't have the services they need. But they can make that donation when they believe in it. And the reality is that there are more people struggling to get by who can give $5 than there are well-connected elites that can give thousands and thousands of dollars. And so the road is harder. The road is always going to be harder to fundraise a campaign off regular people. But the road is there. Bernie Sanders is showing it. And this is crucial because if you want to take on the millionaire class and the billionaire class, then you can't be financially and therefore politically indebted to the millionaire class and the billionaire class. That's a big challenge. When you get so much of your money and your influence from those people, no matter how much you say otherwise, they will expect repayment. Maybe not in an illegal, bribery or corruption sense, but they will expect repayment in the form of a president who is friendly to their interests and not friendly to the interest of regular people. Because in most cases, the interest of regular people and the interest of elites do not coincide. Class conflict is real, and the reality is that it's benefiting the few wealthy people and not the many regular people. Bernie Sanders gets that. In that sense, Bernie is not indebted. He is not trapped by the elite, either corporate or individual elites or certain industries. Pete Buttigieg, for instance, has done well in raising money from Silicon Valley, but that could pose concerns if people want to see legislation addressing privacy or addressing monopoly or addressing labor conditions within the tech industry, Buttigieg will be compromised. And there's another factor here, which is that even if you're not compromised, I don't buy that you can, kowtow to the billionaires for their checkbook and then ignore them for 4 years or 8 years or what have you. But let's say you could. People are always going to question you. They're going to think that you're in bed, that you're bought and paid for. So Bernie Sanders, in raising money off regular people, is in a great position. What are people going to accuse him of? Being in bed with big working class? Being in bed with big minimum wage worker? Being in bed with big, children? Like, all of that is absurd. Bernie Sanders is raising money from regular people, each giving what they can. There's nobody that Bernie Sanders is bought and paid for but the working class people he's defended for generations. And when he's asked, are you bought and paid for by the working class? Bernie can smile and he can say, haven't I always been? Haven't I always been on their side? Haven't they always been essential to my success? It's an easy play for Bernie. You can't go after him for that. And it's also crucial because this has to strike a little bit of concern in the hearts and minds of the rich. They haven't necessarily lost yet. Most candidates are fit to be in their pocket. Pretty much every Republican, but even a lot of Democrats are still willing to play corporate ball. But if Bernie Sanders finds notable success, and if others like Bernie Sanders, as Elizabeth Warren has kind of moved towards Bernie's direction, if others like Bernie find success, it's going to increasingly be the case that aspiring politicians to high office, Congress and Senate and the presidency, they're going to be less willing to take corporate money. They're going to look at the teeter-totter and say, yes, it's easier to raise money from a few people than it is from, a little bit of money from a lot of people. And they're going to say that's true, but the political benefit of denying that money and of raising money from regular people is undeniable. It gives me greater freedom as a legislator, and it gives greater credence to the idea that I'm actually standing up for the common woman and the common man. And I think that Bernie is popularizing this idea. And the thing is these corporations, they don't want that. They don't want people to reject their money. They want to have to give away their money. They want people to be dependent on them. Because it's that dependency that creates the kind of obligations, the formal and informal obligations on them, on those politicians, in favor of those corporations and elites. It's those elite donor streams that not only give you this kind of unspoken quid pro quo, but it sets up the parties, the $5,000 a plate dinners and $10,000, meet and greets that allow a very select few people who represent very narrow economic and social and racial, backgrounds. It gives them great access to these politicians. And even if they're being sincere and the politicians are just trying to meet with constituents, the fact is that if you meet people who can afford $10,000 entry fees, you're not meeting regular people. You're going to very rarely meet any regular person in that sort of context. So this is good for politics, and it's good for progressive causes. Bernie Sanders might not end up raising the most money. Buttigieg might beat him out. People like Joe Biden might beat him out. People like Kamala Harris could do quite well. But the point is that Bernie Sanders is competitive in the drive to raise money from regular working class people. And that means so much. Hey everybody, thanks again for stopping by. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, I would appreciate it if you like, comment, and subscribe. Doing so helps to spread the message, to let people know that raising money from the billionaire and millionaire class isn't the essentiality that it once was, the perceived essentiality it once was. Now, you can build a credible national campaign, and you can do it off working class donations. That you can speak to their concerns and their needs and their hopes and dreams and fight against their fears and raise money while doing so. And that you can go into office not being bought and paid for by the elites who have controlled the political process for so long. And if you can, I would appreciate your support on Patreon. Supporting me there helps to bring a progressive voice to YouTube, to challenge what I feel is a platform that has been for too long disproportionately controlled by conservative voices. And finally, I just want to kind of make a quick announcement regarding my Patreon. As you might know, I just hit $100 a month in donations from my generous supporters. I want to thank you guys so much. And I want to let you know that my first stretch goal has been met, and that means that I'll be hosting a monthly live stream where I talk about politics and really whatever the people on the live stream want to talk about. So I'll be giving some details about that in the coming days and weeks. And once that happens, I hope you tune in. I hope you bring your questions and your concerns and comments, because we're going to try to build a community of progressive thinkers and viewers on this platform to try to build an ecosystem to challenge the far right and alt-right.